In the land of Odogun, where the moonlight poured gently over the clay rooftops, where the wind whispered through tall palm trees, and the elders sat beneath the ancient iroko tree at sunset, there lived a man named Akiko, the richest man in the entire village. His barns overflowed with yams, his goats and cattle filled the fields, his houses shone like the palace of a king. But listen carefully, my friends. Akiko's heart was not rich. His heart was cold. Akiko believed that money made him greater than everyone else. When the poor knocked on his gate, he shouted, "Go away! Did I find my wealth in your pocket? Did my money grow from your sweat?" He chased away widows with sticks. He mocked orphans and insulted elders, saying their years were wasted on useless farming. Even children in the village feared to play near his house. Inside his own home, fear walked like a shadow. His wives spoke in whispers. His children hid behind doors, afraid to laugh. Laughter did not live in his home. And whenever the villagers complained about his cruelty, Akiko would roar, "Respect me because my money speaks louder than your words." But the elders would quietly say, "The tree that grows too proud forgets that the axe also lives in the forest." Every morning, Akiko rode through the village on a fine horse, his golden staff held high. If a farmer left a cow grazing near his land, Akiko would take it and sell it for gold. If a mother begged him for food, he would laugh and say, "Why do you cry when I am rich? Let your children sleep hungry tonight." He forced his servants to carry heavy loads, and if one stumbled, he beat them without mercy. The villagers whispered in fear, "Even the shadow of Akiko can strike your back." One market day, Akiko walked proudly through the marketplace, demanding a share from every farmer and merchant. Anyone who refused was shamed in front of everyone. He laughed as they bowed and surrendered their goods. He even kicked over baskets of fruit belonging to poor children, just to watch them scatter on the ground. From that day, the villagers began to dread market days, because Akiko ruled with money, and fear was the law. Then one day, an old woman came to his gate. Her clothes were worn, and hunger shook her voice. "Please, Akiko, my children have not eaten," she said. But Akiko laughed and threw dust at her feet. "If hunger brought you here, let hunger carry you away." The old woman looked at him and whispered, "Akiko, the world is a calabash. Whatever you pour into it, one day returns to your own lips." But Akiko refused to listen, and the clouds above the village began to grow heavy. One silent night, when even the crickets stopped singing, Akiko lay on his fine bed, smiling proudly. But when morning came, everything had changed. His golden roof had turned to rusted iron. His great house had crumbled like dry bread. His storerooms were empty. His cattle were gone. His wealth had disappeared like smoke in the wind. His wives packed their belongings and left. His children walked away without looking back. For the first time in his life, Akiko stood alone. He walked through the village barefoot, trembling, begging for help. But the villagers remembered his cruelty. The widow passed him by. The orphan turned away. The farmers closed their doors, and Akiko slept beneath the same tree where he once chased beggars away. He felt hunger. He felt shame. He felt the weight of loneliness. Days became weeks. Weeks became months, and Akiko finally tasted the life he once forced others to live. One evening, when the sky turned the color of fire, a frail old woman approached him, the same woman he once mocked. She placed a calabash of water and a piece of bread beside him. "Akiko," she said softly, "do you remember my words? The world is a calabash. Whatever a man pours into it returns to his own lips." And Akiko wept. His tears washed pride from his heart. For the first time, he bowed his head and said, "Mother, forgive me. I used my wealth as a stick instead of a shelter." The old woman nodded and said, "Rise, Akiko. Wealth is not evil, but a wicked heart is a curse." From that day, Akiko changed. He worked with his hands. He swept the village paths. He fetched water for elders. He shared the little he earned. Slowly, the villagers saw kindness in his eyes. No more pride, no more cruelty, only humility and gratitude. The elders gathered beneath the iroko tree and said, "A man who has learned with tears must not walk alone." They welcomed him back, and when fortune slowly returned to Akiko, he did not hoard it. He fed the hungry, clothed the poor, sheltered orphans, and honored the elders. And laughter finally returned to his home. And so, children, and elders, and listeners from near and far, the village of Odogun never forgot the story of Akiko, because life taught him a lesson no gold could buy. A man who builds his throne on pride will one day sit on the ground of regret, but the one who walks with kindness will never walk alone.